Good evening. Well, the January 6th House Select Committee investigating the January attack on Capitol Hill held its final meeting this morning. Criminal prosecutions may be forthcoming. Today, the House Committee on the January 6th attacks concluded that the evidence warranted a referral to the Justice Department for possible criminal prosecution. In the committee's eyes, Trump unlawfully conspired to overturn the 2020 election and remained actively adjacent to the invasion of the Capitol. The committee tagged the former president for alleged obstruction of an official proceeding, conspiring to defraud the United States, and conspiring to make a false statement. The committee also determined that sufficient evidence existed of Trump inciting, assisting, or aiding the insurrection. The facts are compelling according to Trump administration veterans. The trial against 5 members of the far-right group known as the Proud Boys is set to move forward, with the group's former leader Enrique Tarrio among those facing charges of seditious conspiracy for their involvement in the attack on the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. on January 6th of 2021. U.S. District Judge Timothy Kelly said jury selection would continue on this morning after he dismissed a request from the defense to delay the trial start, which coincides with the final public hearing of the Congressional Committee on investigating the attack. U.S. Senator Jim Rich, the top Republican on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, has requested a review of U.S. security and assistance cooperation programs in Nigeria following Reuters reporting on an illegal abortion program and the killing of children carried out by the Nigerian military. Reich, in a letter to Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, seen by Reuters, also called for the State Department to examine the potential use of sanctions in addition to an expeditious review of U.S. security and assistance and cooperation. The United States Supreme Court blocks the government from ending Title 42. Yep, that is right. Today, John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, at the request of Republican officials in 19 states, temporarily blocked the Biden administration from ending the pandemic-era policy of rapidly expelling migrants caught at the U.S.-Mexico border. Republican officials, led by the attorney generals in Arizona and Louisiana, have asked the Supreme Court to act after a federal appeals court on Friday declined to put a hold on a judge's ruling last month that invalidated the emergency order known as Title 42. It was set to expire on Wednesday. When it comes to January 6th and Donald Trump, in a way, I hope they do prosecute him and find him guilty. That way, criminal charges can be brought against people like Pelosi, Waters, Cori Bush, Ayanna Pressley, AOC, and even Kamala Harris. After all, they had no direct involvement in the violence that took place after they called for violence and unrest against Republicans at their homes and in public areas. They should be treated no different than Trump, and his prosecution and conviction would set a precedent for future cases. Trump did not lead the charge. He didn't call for people to enter the Capitol and never told them to get violent. The full, unedited speech from that day by Trump is on C-SPAN archives. You can see it for yourself, instead of the chopped up video the media showed you. The aforementioned House members, just like Trump, were not present and accounted for when the violence went down that they called for. Fair is fair. If you're going to criminally prosecute Trump, then you have to prosecute them as well. After all, people suffered. People got injured because they called for unrest and violence, and they did this publicly on social media and the mainstream media. If we are lucky with Republicans taking the House, we will see that fairness take place. As for the American people, your takeaway from this should be that no matter what side you might support, all party members should be held accountable for their actions and words resulting in violent actions. We, the people, should demand it. After all, we are the ones paying their salaries. And the dollar bill, our tax dollars, doesn't know anything about party lines. Just saying.